Can you believe that right in the heart of the Eternal City, hidden deep within the Vatican's centuries-old walls, there exists a place where nature defies all its known laws? You simply won't believe that as twilight deepens and roams scattered. Streetlights begin to twinkle, a quiet marvel unfolds. Not in the grand basilicas or the bustling museums, but in a secluded corner nestled against the oldest, most secretive sections of the ancient masonry. Tonight, you're not just visiting. You're peering into a botanical mystery that laughs at logic and sunlight. We're talking about a garden, you see. A secret garden that only unfurls its quiet beauty under the cover of night, within the very walls of the Vatican. You might think this sounds like a thrilling adventure, but trust me, the subtle, almost imperceptible unfolding of ancient flora is precisely the kind of gentle detail that makes for perfect sleepy time listening. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Feel free to comment below and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're drifting now, letting the gentle quiet of the night envelop you, perhaps the soft whir of a distant fan lulling your thoughts. Imagine the Vatican not as the bustling daytime spectacle of pilgrims and tourists, but as it truly exists in the deepest hours after the last echoes of the day have faded. The immense stone walls, built over centuries, stand sentinel, their ancient mortar, holding secrets far older than any living soul. Beneath the watchful eyes of silent saints carved into facades, and behind the closed, heavy doors of countless chambers, the city-state breathes a different, more ancient air. It's in this profound stillness, this almost palpable hush, that descends once the final guard has made their rounds and the last lamp extinguished, that our garden truly begins to stir. Picture it, if you will. A secluded courtyard, perhaps, or a forgotten patch of ground, squeezed almost impossibly between a Renaissance palace and a medieval tower. By day, it's just another unassuming space, possibly even a dusty, overlooked corner. But as the very last sliver of twilight vanishes and the first true stars pierce the Roman sky, a subtle transformation begins. It's not dramatic, no sudden bursts of light or fanfare. Instead, it's a quiet shift, a deepening of the shadows that somehow feels different. The air grows heavier with a scent you can't quite place. Something earthy, yes, but also floral in a way that's utterly foreign to anything you've ever encountered in a sun-drenched garden. It's like the scent of secrets unfolding, of ancient life stirring from a very, very long slumber. The Vatican has always been a place steeped in layers of history, both public and profoundly private. It's a city built on the foundations of earlier civilizations, where Roman ruins lie beneath Renaissance art and medieval walls protect priceless archives. It's no surprise then that tales of hidden passages and secret chambers abound. But a garden that only blooms at night? That's a different kind of mystery entirely, one that touches upon the very fabric of nature and time itself. You might scoff, thinking it's just a fanciful tale, a whisper in the wind. But as you relax, deeper into your thoughts, the sheer impossibility of it begins to lend it an eerie plausibility. After all, if some obscure deep-sea creatures can glow in the darkest ocean trenches, why couldn't a hidden garden exist within the very heart of Christendom, defying conventional botanical norms? It's not a stretch, really, if you just let your mind accept the premise. This isn't about dramatic revelations or explosive conspiracies. No, this is about the quiet persistence, of something profoundly unnatural within a profoundly sacred space. Think of it like this: your common houseplants, they absolutely adore the sun, right? They perk up, photosynthesize, do their leafy green thing with gusto. Now imagine a plant that shrivels under direct sunlight, a delicate bloom that actively waits for the absolute absence of light to truly thrive, unfurling its petals only when the moon reigns supreme. It's an inverse biology, a botanical paradox nestled right where you'd least expect it. It's akin to discovering a nocturnal, photosynthesis-averse basil plant in your windowsill herb garden. Utterly unexpected, a touch absurd, but undeniably intriguing. The early whispers of this peculiar garden didn't emanate from scholars poring over ancient texts, not initially anyway. They came from the most unlikely sources, the quiet, unassuming people who lived and worked within the Vatican walls, those who kept truly odd hours. Perhaps it was a Swiss guard on a lonely night patrol, catching a fleeting, unidentifiable fragrance, carried on a particularly still breeze. Or a member of the cleaning staff, working deep into the early hours, who swore they heard a faint, rustling sound from a seemingly walled-off courtyard, a place known only for its silent stone. Or maybe a dedicated astronomer peering through a telescope from the Vatican Observatory, which, fascinatingly, has a rich history, operating from the Vatican since 1582, and even has telescopes at Castel Gandolfo due to Rome's persistent light pollution, who once swore they saw a patch of ethereal luminescence where only dark stone should have been, a soft glow that vanished with the first hint of dawn. These were not grand pronouncements, mind you, but quiet, almost apologetic observations, often quickly dismissed as mere fatigue or an overactive imagination. And yet these fragments of experience, these whispered anecdotes, slowly began to coalesce. You'd hear hushed conversations in the Vatican mess hall late at night about a night bloom, a shadow garden, or the place where the air smells different after midnight. No one could quite describe it definitively or confirm its exact location. But the shared experience of this inexplicable nocturnal phenomenon slowly began to form a sort of collective, subconscious secret among those who truly knew the Vatican after dark. It's a bit like those persistent urban legends about secret passages in old manor houses. Everyone has heard them, few can confirm, but the idea itself, once planted, refuses to die. One mainstream historical fact to ground us slightly: the Vatican Gardens, the known ones, cover a significant portion of the Vatican City state, approximately 23 hectares, or about half the total area. These are meticulously cared for, bursting with life under the bright Italian sun, a true testament to centuries of papal patronage and horticultural skill. So the very idea of a secret garden within these existing, highly visible, and intensely managed grounds, especially one that defies conventional botany, highlights just how profoundly hidden and utterly unusual this nocturnal growth must be. It fundamentally challenges the ordered, manicured reality that the Vatican presents to the world, suggesting a wilder, far more enigmatic side that operates on its own silent terms. Now, for a quirky tidbit that might make you ponder, during the European Renaissance, many popes and cardinals were utterly obsessed with collecting exotic plants and creating elaborate gardens, often incorporating classical elements and even arcane symbolism into their designs. You had botanical cabinets and private grottos where rare and unusual specimens were cultivated. Some even dabbled with plants believed to possess magical or potent medicinal properties. Could the origins of our secret garden lie in one such ambitious, perhaps misguided papal botanical experiment? It's not entirely outside the realm of possibility that some ancient Vatican gardener, perhaps weary of common roses, dabbled in something truly out of this world, something that accidentally led to a horticultural anomaly that somehow persisted through centuries. Imagine trying to get that approved by the Vatican's Historical Preservation Committee today. Yes, Your Holiness, we'd like to plant something that only grows when no one can see it, and it smells like a dream, and it might or might not spontaneously combust if exposed to direct sunlight. You can almost hear the sighs of exasperated cardinals. Of course, historians still argue whether some of the more fantastical claims from ancient botanical texts, like Pliny the Elder's detailed accounts of glow-in-the-dark fungi or plants that could reportedly grant visions or bestow immortality, were based on genuine, if profoundly misunderstood, natural phenomena, or were simply the products of poetic license and vivid ancient imaginations. This enduring debate about where the line truly lies between natural history and pure myth perfectly encapsulates the enigmatic nature of our secret garden. Is it a unique, undocumented species that simply thrives in the Vatican's peculiar microclimate, an evolutionary marvel unseen elsewhere? Or is it something else entirely? Something that truly defies the boundaries of modern science and slips, quietly, almost imperceptibly, into the realm of pure legend? The persistent lack of tangible, verifiable evidence only deepens the mystery, allowing the whispers to grow just like the garden itself in the silent, star-dusted hours of the Roman night. You're now drifting closer, your perspective shifting, settling low among the ancient stones of the Vatican. The hum of the fan, that gentle lullaby, feels like the faint, consistent thrum of unseen machinery or the distant, steady heartbeat of a vast, sleeping city. You find yourself observing the quiet lives of those who truly inhabit this hallowed ground once the official daytime world retreats. These aren't the brightly robed cardinals you see in the news, nor the eager tourists clutching guidebooks. No, you're looking at the unsung protagonists of Vatican nights, the night watchmen, their footsteps echoing a little too loudly in empty corridors, the maintenance crews, their tools clinking softly as they address the ancient plumbing or flickering lights. The cloistered nuns, their prayers whispered in chapels bathed only in moonlight, and the occasional older priest or scholar, perhaps lost in thought, taking a solitary late-night stroll through courtyards that feel vastly different in the dark. It is among these quiet souls, these guardians of the Vatican's nocturnal rhythms, that the first faint whispers of our garden truly began to circulate. Not as shouted declarations, mind you, but as something far more subtle, like the rustle of old parchment turning in an unseen hand. It started with the senses. Imagine a Swiss guard patrolling a secluded section of the Apostolic Palace, the cool night air usually carrying only the scent of damp stone and distant Roman traffic fumes. But then, for a fleeting moment, a fragrance drifts by. Something exquisitely floral, yet impossibly rich, unlike any known flower. It's too potent for a mere potted plant, too ephemeral for something truly there. He might pause, sniff the air, frown in bewilderment, then dismiss it as a trick of the night, or perhaps a lingering perfume from some forgotten daytime visitor. Must be tired, he'd tell himself, shrugging off the anomaly. Then there are the sounds. You envision a cleaning staff member diligently polishing a mosaic floor in a rarely used gallery that abuts an inner wall. The only sounds should be the gentle squeak of their mop and the soft swish of their clothes. But then, a faint, rhythmic rustling, like hundreds of unseen leaves being gently stirred by an imperceptible breeze, emanates from behind the thick stone. It's too regular to be an animal, too organic to be structural creaks. They might stop, listen intently, then shake their head. Just the old building settling, they'd rationalize, despite the unsettling feeling that persists. It's a classic case of the human mind trying to impose order on something that decidedly doesn't fit the expected pattern. They'd probably think they were imagining things, just like when you're almost asleep and swear you hear your name called, only to realize no one's there. And the sights, oh, the sights. Not dramatic apparitions, but subtle, almost subliminal visual anomalies. A fleeting, soft luminescence like moonlight caught on dew, but emanating from a patch of ground too deep in shadow to catch any lunar glow. Or perhaps a shadow, deeper than absolute darkness, that seems to possess a curious organic movement, shifting and swirling as if alive, even when there's no wind. A night shift gardener, tending to the known Vatican gardens, might glance towards the distant inner walls and see a faint emerald shimmer, too subtle to be artificial light, too vibrant to be merely imagination. They might rub their eyes, blink, and then blame the late hour. Definitely need more coffee, they'd grumble to themselves. These aren't the dramatic, ghost story level sightings you might expect. No, these are the quiet, almost apologetic anomalies that plague the subconscious, the things that make you doubt your own sanity just for a moment. This very reluctance to speak of it, this self-doubt, was a crucial part of the garden's secret. Who would believe them? And more importantly, who wants to be the one to report a glowing, rustling patch of air that smells faintly of an unknown paradise to their supervisor in the morning? It's much easier to blame fatigue, old age, or simply the Vatican's strangeness, that catch-all explanation for anything inexplicable within its ancient confines. After all, when you work in a place where miracles are, at least officially, a daily possibility, an unexpected plant is barely a blip on the weirdness radar. It's like working at a circus and being surprised a clown just walked by. You see, for centuries, monasteries and religious orders across Europe, including those within the Vatican, maintained strict night watches and vigils. This historical fact means that through the ages there have always been eyes and ears open during the deepest hours of the night. From Benedictine monks observing the divine office in the dead of night to the continuous presence of security forces, the Vatican's nocturnal landscape has been anything but truly deserted. This constant, albeit quiet, human presence provided the perfect conditions for these subtle observations to be made, repeated, and eventually whispered from one weary night worker to another. These weren't lone, isolated incidents. They were scattered, similar reports, accumulating like grains of sand over generations. Here's a quirky tidbit you might find amusing. There's a long-standing unofficial tradition among some of the older Vatican employees, particularly those who've served for decades, of attributing any minor, unexplainable occurrence to the ghost of a bored cardinal or St. Peter trying to find his slippers. It's a way of making peace with the ancient, creaking, always shifting nature of the place. So, a strange floral scent or a faint glow wouldn't immediately trigger alarm. It would more likely be folded into this existing tapestry of charmingly odd, harmless supernatural explanations. Oh, that's just Cardinal Rossi's spirit trying to grow some evening primroses again. This light-hearted, almost dismissive attitude ironically helped keep the true nature of the garden a secret because no one took the initial reports seriously enough to investigate properly. It's divine misdirection by mundane means. The consensus, if you can call it that, was never about a grand, magical secret. It was about shared, quiet disorientation. Imagine you're playing a game of telephone, but instead of a whispered phrase, it's a feeling, a scent, a fleeting image. By the time it travels through a few generations of night shift workers, the core essence, something strange happens at night near that wall, remains, even if the details blur. This collective experience of unexplained phenomena, repeatedly dismissed, forms a curious kind of historical background noise, a hum beneath the official narrative of the Vatican. Historians still argue whether such internal, unofficial folklore passed down through generations of staff rather than written in official archives holds more genuine truth about a place's hidden life than the sanitized public records. In the case of our garden, this informal network of whispers became its most enduring, if unwitting, chronicler. And it is this very nature of its discovery, fragmented, personal, often doubted, that truly defines the secret garden. It's not found by expedition or archaeological dig. It's encountered almost accidentally by those whose lives intersect with the Vatican's profound stillness. It's a silent, living secret that only reveals itself when the world is asleep. A botanical whisper in the heart of stone. And as you drift further into this quiet contemplation, you can almost smell that impossible fragrance, feel the subtle shift in the night air, and hear the soft, rustling sounds of something truly wondrous beginning to unfurl. You're hovering now, not quite over the Vatican, but as if you're peering over the shoulder of a quiet, unassuming individual making a rather startling discovery. The gentle hum of your surroundings deepens, a perfect backdrop for the hushed reverence of old books and forgotten spaces. For decades, perhaps even centuries, the whispers about the nocturnal garden remained just that. Whispers, disembodied hints of an anomaly. But whispers, no matter how persistent, rarely yield concrete evidence. Until, that is, a physical piece of the puzzle finally emerged, tucked away in a place where only the most dedicated, or perhaps the most unlucky, would ever find it. Imagine a scene, not of grand revelation, but of methodical, almost tedious work. You picture a young archivist, let's call her Chiara, assigned to catalogue a newly opened section of the Vatican Library's vast, seldom accessed storage. This particular wing, a forgotten appendix attached to a much older medieval structure, was damp and dusty, filled with forgotten liturgical texts, obsolete maps, and the kind of heavy, leather-bound tomes that haven't seen human hands in generations. Chiara, armed with a headlamp and a determination fueled by too much espresso, painstakingly moved boxes, each filled with the smell of old paper and the quiet weight of history. It was during one such monotonous afternoon, perhaps when the Romany sun was already beginning its descent, casting long, dusty fingers of light through high, grimy windows, that her gloved hand brushed against something unusual. Not a book, not a scroll, but a small, unassuming wooden chest tucked behind a false panel in a crumbling bookshelf. It was plain, unadorned, suggesting its contents were more personal than official. When she carefully prized it open, there it was, a single, leather-bound journal, its cover worn smooth by time and handling, the gold tooling faded to a mere suggestion of former elegance. The pages within were brittle, yellowed, and smelled faintly of pressed flowers and an indescribable earthiness that seemed to cling to the very ink. It was the kind of discovery that in any other context would trigger immediate excitement. Here, in the Vatican, it was just another item to be catalogued, albeit a slightly more intriguing one. A quiet, almost ironic moment of discovery in a place overflowing with secrets. This was no ordinary diary of daily life. This was the meticulous record of a man, let's call him Brother Matteo, an undergardener, or perhaps a monastic botanist, from the late 15th or early 16th century, judging by the script and the occasional Latin annotations. His entries weren't about mundane chores or papal decrees. They were about the peculiar nocturnal botanical observations he had made in a secluded, unnamed courtyard he referred to simply as the inner green. Brother Matteo, you see, was either extraordinarily observant or delightfully unhinged, possibly a little bit of both. He wasn't trying to discover a miracle, merely trying to understand something that defied everything he knew about plants. He was, to put it mildly, a dedicated plant dad who just happened to be tending to a very, very odd patch of greenery. His earlier entries were filled with a methodical skepticism. October 14th, 1498, the usual barrenness of the northern court persists by day. Yet, a faint, unfamiliar aroma lingered at dawn. Fatigue, no doubt. But as the pages turned, so did his bewilderment. November the 2nd, 1498, the scent returned, stronger this time, and a rustling, as if 100 leaves stirred without wind. The night plays tricks on an old man's senses. Then came the observations of the peculiar nocturnal botanical transformations. December 1st, 1498, full moon. A luminescence, subtle, but unmistakable, emanated from the darkest corner. Not a glowworm, not artifice. It pulsed softly with the moon's rhythm. The leaves, skeletal by day, appeared full. Brother Matteo wasn't just writing, he was meticulously sketching. Delicate, intricate drawings of leaves that looked one way in the day and completely transformed at night, unfurling like elaborate paper cutouts. Blooms with impossible, almost crystalline structures, drawn with meticulous detail, always noting the specific time of night, the phase of the moon, and the subtle variations in temperature. There were notes about a peculiar, shimmering dew that only appeared on these nocturnal plants, evaporating instantly with the first hint of dawn. He chronicled the garden's insistence on privacy, noting how any direct light brought immediate wilting, as if it recoiled from human gaze. It was like trying to photograph a ghost with a flash, only to find you'd scared it back into the ether. What Brother Matteo was documenting wasn't just a quirky botanical phenomenon, it was a living defiance of natural order. He noted the astonishing speed of its nocturnal growth, describing vines that seemed to extend inches in a single hour, only to retract or become imperceptible by sunrise. He referred to specific plants as the whispering tendrils, the lunar blossoms, and the shadow weavers, suggesting not just unique forms but perhaps even subtle sensory interactions. He grappled with the implications, scrawling notes in the margins about ancient Roman agricultural texts or obscure monastic treatises that hinted at gardens cultivated not for sustenance but for spiritual enlightenment or even arcane purposes. He was trying to fit a square, glowing nocturnal peg into a very round, very conventional hole. You see, the Vatican has always been a repository of knowledge, both sacred and secular. The Vatican Library, for instance, is one of the oldest and most historically significant libraries in the world. Founded in 1475, it houses an extraordinary collection of manuscripts, incunabula, and prints. It's a place where meticulous record-keeping, often by monastic scribes, was a sacred duty. So, Brother Matteo's journal, though personal, fits into this larger historical context of careful documentation. It's not a fringe conspiracy theory written on a napkin. It's a dedicated botanical study from a time when the lines between science, philosophy, and spirituality were far more blurred than they are today. This adds a layer of authenticity to his observations, making them more than mere flights of fancy. For a quirky tidbit, during the medieval and Renaissance periods, the creation of physic gardens, gardens dedicated to medicinal plants, was common in monasteries. These gardens often contained very rare and unusual flora, sometimes imported from distant lands. It was believed that plants held secret powers, and many monastic orders were deeply involved in botany. Could Brother Matteo's garden have been an accidental offshoot of such a physic garden, perhaps a failed experiment with a plant that mutated in the Vatican's unique environment, or one that, unknown to him, possessed an incredibly specialized light sensitivity? He was a plant enthusiast working in a place where strange things happened. It was almost inevitable he'd stumble upon something truly extraordinary. It's like being a cat enthusiast and accidentally adopting a tiny, glow-in-the-dark dragon instead of a tabby. An adorable, if slightly terrifying, surprise. Of course, the exact methods by which monks and scholars acquired and preserved their vast botanical knowledge in the medieval period, particularly regarding truly exotic or unusual species, is a subject of ongoing debate among historians. Did they rely solely on ancient texts, or did they engage in more active, perhaps even secretive, explorations or exchanges of knowledge that are not fully documented? Brother Matteo's journal, if it were ever widely known, would certainly add fuel to this fire, challenging our understanding of both historical botany and the hidden activities within the Vatican's inner sanctums. His observations, however cryptic, suggest a depth of botanical understanding, or at least a level of meticulous observation that goes beyond simple gardening. It speaks to a pursuit of knowledge, even when that knowledge is profoundly strange. This hidden journal, once discovered, transformed the quiet whispers into something more substantial. It didn't provide answers, not entirely, but it gave a voice to the experience, a dated, tangible record of the garden's impossible existence. It moved the secret garden from the realm of fleeting sensory illusion to the realm of a documented, if still unexplained, phenomenon. And as you imagine Chiara, the archivist, carefully turning its brittle pages, the very air around you feels charged with the quiet weight of centuries-old secrets, waiting for the moon to rise. You're now delving deeper into the layers of history that underpin the Vatican, letting your thoughts drift like dust motes caught in the faint beam of a sunbeam in an ancient Roman villa. The journal of Brother Matteo, that meticulous record of a nocturnal botanical marvel, didn't exist in a vacuum. It whispered of a tradition, a knowledge that felt far older than the Vatican itself, reaching back into the very soil upon which it stands. And that, of course, means reaching back to ancient Rome. Consider this. The Vatican City, as you know it today, isn't just a random patch of ground. It sits atop the Vatican Hill, a place that was significant long before St. Peter's Basilica ever graced the skyline. This very hill was once home to opulent Roman villas, lush pleasure gardens, and even the infamous Circus of Nero, where spectacles both grand and gruesome unfolded. Mainstream historical fact: Nero's circus, where many early Christians were martyred, lay directly beneath the foundations of St. Peter's Basilica. This means centuries of human activity, of building and rebuilding, of cultivation and concealment, have occurred on this precise spot. Every shovelful of earth turned, every stone laid, has built upon or unearthed remnants of what came before. The Romans, you see, were not just master engineers and builders of aqueducts and roads. They were also incredibly sophisticated horticulturists with a profound appreciation for gardens. Their villas, from Pompeii to the sprawling estates of the emperors, featured elaborate outdoor spaces, often incorporating intricate water features, statues, and exotic plants brought from across their vast empire. But beyond the well-documented pleasure gardens, there was a lesser-known side to Roman horticulture, one that might hold clues to our secret garden. Imagine a Roman patrician seeking not just beauty, but something more esoteric, more profound. The Romans were fascinated by grottos, nymphia, and subterranean spaces. These weren't just cool retreats from the summer heat. They were often designed to evoke mystical realms, places where water nymphs or minor deities might dwell. You can almost picture them, these wealthy Romans, commissioning elaborate, often hidden, garden features that played with light and shadow, that brought the feel of a sacred grove indoors or underground. Could such a hidden, specialized garden, perhaps nurtured for its unique properties rather than its everyday beauty, have been cultivated in the shadowy recesses of a Roman villa on the Vatican Hill, a garden designed to react to specific conditions like the absence of sunlight? Brother Matteo's journal, with its cryptic references and strange observations, seems to echo these forgotten Roman practices. He sometimes sketched symbols that resembled ancient Roman glyphs or mentioned specific Latin phrases that weren't common in his time, but resonated with older classical texts. His descriptions of the lunar blossoms that glowed and the shadow weavers that moved could be interpreted not as magical plants, but as botanical specimens specifically bred or cultivated using specialized ancient methods that are now lost to us. Perhaps Romans discovered plants with extreme photophobia or a peculiar bioluminescence and found unique ways to grow them in controlled, light-deprived environments. It's like finding a recipe for invisible cake in an ancient cookbook, utterly perplexing, but the instructions are clearly there. A quirky tidbit that comes to mind: ancient Roman farmers and gardeners often consulted specific almanacs and mystical texts for planting, not just based on seasons, but on the phases of the moon, the position of stars, and even astrological signs. While this might seem quaint to modern agriculturalists, some of these practices had a pragmatic basis in soil fertility or pest control, but others were purely ritualistic, believing certain plants would thrive or gain particular properties only when planted or tended under very specific celestial condition. Could the nocturnal garden be the ultimate culmination of such an arcane practice, a lineage of horticultural wisdom passed down through generations, perhaps hidden deliberately within the Vatican walls by those who understood its unique requirements? It's like insisting your prize-winning tomatoes must be watered only by moonlight and serenaded by Gregorian chants. Seems odd, but hey, if it works. Historians still argue whether certain ancient Roman texts, particularly those dealing with natural philosophy or esoteric arts, contained genuinely lost scientific or horticultural knowledge, or were merely speculative musings. There are accounts of Roman engineers achieving feats that mystify us even today, like the precise alignment of temples or the incredible durability of certain concrete mixtures. Could the Romans have developed a highly specialized form of dark horticulture, cultivating plants that thrived only in the absence of light, perhaps using minerals or water sources with unique properties? The debate centers on whether ancient magic was proto-science, merely a misunderstanding of complex natural laws, or something more. The very existence of our nocturnal garden, if proven, would certainly tip the scales towards the latter, suggesting a far more advanced, or at least peculiar, understanding of plant life. The continuity of the Vatican site is crucial here. Over 2 millennia, it has remained a locus of power, learning, and hidden activity. Generations of scholars, gardeners, and religious figures have occupied these grounds. It's entirely plausible that ancient Roman knowledge, even fragments of it, could have been preserved, adapted, or even rediscovered by later inhabitants. Imagine a Roman gardener, perhaps a slave or a minor priest, who possessed a unique knowledge of these nocturnal blooms, and whose secrets were passed down quietly, carefully, through a hidden lineage of caretakers. Brother Matteo's journal might just be one link in a very long, unbroken chain of observation and guardianship. It's a bit like a centuries-old family recipe, but instead of lasagna, it's for a plant that only comes out when you're supposed to be asleep. So, the garden, perhaps, isn't a miraculous anomaly that spontaneously appeared. Instead, it might be the culmination of forgotten ancient Roman cultivation techniques, preserved and nurtured in secret within the protective embrace of the Vatican's ancient stone. It's a testament to the idea that some knowledge, some practices are simply too delicate, too unusual, or too powerful to exist in the harsh glare of public scrutiny. They thrive in the shadows, pass down in whispers, blooming only when the rest of the world is asleep. You can almost feel the weight of this ancient knowledge pressing gently around you, inviting you to consider the silent, unseen history growing just beyond your sight. You're drifting deeper now past the initial whispers and the quiet revelation of Brother Matteo's journal into the very heart of Vatican governance. The air around you feels thick with centuries of decisions, of secrets kept and truths carefully curated. For a phenomenon as utterly inexplicable as a garden that only grows by night within its sacred walls, silence wasn't accidental. It was a policy enforced by various popes and their closest advisors, sometimes with a heavy hand, sometimes with a knowing nod. Imagine the dilemma facing a pontiff of, say, the 16th century upon learning of such a botanical anomaly in an era deeply sensitive to heresy and the supernatural, where the line between miracle and witchcraft was often razor-thin. A glow-in-the-dark, sun-averse garden would be a theological nightmare. You can almost hear the furious whispered debates in candle-lit chambers. Is it a sign from God or a demonic trick? What if it's proof of pagan rituals still lingering beneath our very feet? A dark echo of those ancient Roman practices we discussed earlier? The very existence of such a garden could undermine the Vatican's carefully constructed image of order, rationality, and divine control. It simply wouldn't do to have bishops asking if the new papacy was cultivating infernal flora. So, the first instinctive reaction, you might imagine, was suppression. It wasn't about destroying the garden. Perhaps they quickly discovered that was impossible, or perhaps they feared tampering with something so profoundly unusual. Instead, it was about controlling the knowledge of its existence. Papal edicts, though perhaps never written as formal bulls condemning nocturnal botanical curiosities, would have been issued in the form of strict, whispered directives. These were orders given only to a select few, trusted chamberlains, private secretaries, and of course, the succession of gardeners or caretakers, like Brother Matteo, who found themselves burdened with its secret. These early directives would have focused on literal concealment. You picture architects being quietly tasked with building new wings or extending existing structures in ways that conveniently sealed off certain courtyards or sections of wall. A new library, perhaps, or a private apartment for a cardinal, built directly over a known access point to the garden's location. It's like finding a mysterious glowing spot in your backyard and deciding the easiest way to deal with it is to build a shed directly on top, hoping no one ever asks what's underneath. This architectural absorption was a brilliant passive way to ensure secrecy. Mainstream historical fact, the Vatican, throughout its history, has constantly undergone significant architectural expansion and modification, often building new structures, directly atop or adjacent to older ones, creating a dense, layered urban fabric. This very process would have provided ample opportunity for convenient concealment of unwanted anomalies. As centuries passed, the methods of control adapted. It moved from overt physical concealment to more subtle forms of information management. Records, if they existed at all, would have been classified under the most obscure headings, or perhaps even removed from general circulation. Imagine a diligent archivist from a later period, perhaps during the Counter-Reformation when intellectual control was paramount, stumbling upon Brother Matteo's journal. Their immediate instruction might have been to secure it, categorize it as highly sensitive, non-theological to be kept from public view, and then place it in a location so remote and dusty that it would effectively be forgotten until rediscovered centuries later. It's the ultimate version of putting something in a drawer and then forgetting which drawer you put it in. The attitude of various popes towards this secret garden likely varied wildly. providing a humorous insight into divine leadership. You can imagine a pragmatic pope concerned only with maintaining the church's image, simply wanting the problem to go away. Just brick it up, Cardinal. No one needs to know about glowing plants in the Holy See. Then there might have been a more scholarly pope, genuinely fascinated, who would secretly visit the garden at night, perhaps bringing a trusted botanist or two, only to be utterly bewildered by what he saw. He'd probably spend hours pondering its implications before ultimately deciding it was too unsettling for the common flock. Best to keep it a secret, lest the faithful start questioning basic biology, he might sigh before ordering another layer of mortar on the garden's surrounding wall. It's like your stern high school principal who secretly moonlights as a conspiracy theorist, but only after everyone else is asleep. A quirky tidbit that fits this theme. Some historical accounts suggest that certain popes maintained private, highly exclusive gardens not just for beauty, but for contemplation or even for cultivating specific rare herbs believed to possess special properties. Sometimes for medicinal use, sometimes for symbolic purposes in ceremonies. It's not a stretch to imagine that a garden like ours, with its unique nocturnal properties, might have fallen into this category, becoming a living, breathing, profoundly mysterious, papal, secret project. It's an exclusive club, even for plants, and you definitely need a secret handshake to get in. The enforcement of this secrecy wasn't just about walls and hidden documents. It was also about fostering a culture of dismissal regarding strange occurrences. Remember the Vatican strangeness we talked about earlier? The quiet rumors among the staff about odd smells or faint glows were subtly encouraged to be viewed as just the old building settling or tired imaginations. This soft form of psychological control meant that even those who did glimpse something unusual would likely self-censor, fearing ridicule or even accusation. You wouldn't want to be the groundskeeper explaining to a senior monsignor that the new glowing moss was definitely not from Home Depot. This entire system of secrecy, enforced through centuries of papal directives, both overt and subtle, creates a fascinating historical question. Historians still argue whether such extensive and continuous efforts to conceal natural phenomena or scientific discoveries by the Church were driven primarily by theological fear, a desire to maintain authority, or perhaps a genuine, if paternalistic, belief that certain truths were simply too complex or unsettling for the general populace. In the case of our secret garden, it seems to have been a blend of all three: the desire to control an anomaly, the fear of what it represented, and the pragmatic need to maintain the Vatican's image of steadfast, unwavering order in a world that often seemed chaotic and unpredictable. The garden, in its silent nocturnal defiance, became a living testament to the sheer weight of hidden knowledge within those ancient walls, a secret carefully guarded by the highest authority. You're drifting deeper now, past the hushed directives and the cleverly disguised architectural features, into the very heart of the garden's mystery itself, its midnight blooms and their strange, impossible lives. The Vatican's walls, those ancient sentinels, hold not just secrets of human power and belief, but secrets of nature too, secrets that only truly awaken when the world falls silent under the moon. This is where the tale shifts from history to active observation, from the why of concealment to the what of existence. Imagine the absolute darkness of a Vatican courtyard, enclosed by towering, centuries-old stone so deep within the complex that even the faint glow of distant city lights cannot penetrate. It's a darkness that feels ancient, almost primordial. You expect nothing but the chill of stone, perhaps the rustle of a bat's wing, or the quiet drip of a hidden spring. But as your eyes adjust, or rather, as your mind allows itself to perceive the unseen, something begins to shift. It starts with a subtle luminescence, not a harsh electric glow, but a soft, internal light like captured starlight. It emanates from the ground, from seemingly barren soil or patches of moss that by day appear utterly unremarkable. This isn't your typical bioluminescence, the kind you might find in deep-sea creatures or certain fungi. No, this light feels different. It's cooler, almost ethereal, giving the surrounding shadows a deeper velvety quality. You might swear you hear a faint, almost inaudible click, like a tiny lock disengaging as the first delicate petals begin to unfurl. These are the lunar blossoms that Brother Matteo so cryptically described. By day they are utterly invisible, perhaps shriveled to mere specks or so perfectly camouflaged against the stone that they simply vanish from perception. But as night deepens, they awaken. You see slender, almost translucent stems emerge from the ground, reaching upwards with a slow, deliberate grace. Leaves previously unseen unfurl with an audible whisper, expanding into intricate patterns that catch and refract the faint internal light. Some might resemble delicate lace, others resemble tiny, emerald-cut jewels, each catching the ambient luminescence. It's like watching time-lapse photography of an alien ecosystem, sped up just enough to reveal its silent, rapid unfolding. The variety of these midnight blooms is astonishing, defying any known botanical classification. There are flowers that resemble tiny, glowing orbs, pulsating with a gentle rhythm, like living constellations dropped onto the earth. Others form delicate, bell-shaped cups, filled with an inner radiance, their petals so fine they seem woven. From moonbeams themselves, you might see what Brother Matteo called the whispering tendrils, vines that extend with surprising speed, seeming to feel their way through the darkness, their tips glowing faintly as they seek purchase on the rough. Stone walls, they don't just grow, they seem to flow, like liquid light made solid. One of the most peculiar aspects of their strange life is their profound photophobia, mainstream historical fact. Many nocturnal plants, even in the normal world, have adaptations to open at night, like the evening primrose or the moonflower. However, these still tolerate or even require sunlight during their dormant period or for certain metabolic processes. Our secret garden's flora takes this to an extreme. Any direct exposure to sunlight causes immediate, irreversible wilting, a rapid shriveling as if the very essence of their life is being drained away. It's like a vampire trying to take a leisurely stroll on a sunny beach, utterly disastrous. This extreme sensitivity is precisely why the garden has remained hidden for so long, protected not just by walls and edicts, but by its own fundamental biological needs. You can almost imagine the frustration of early observers trying to bring a specimen out into the light, only to watch it instantly turn to dust. "Well, that was anticlimactic," they'd probably mutter. This unusual characteristic leads to a fascinating problem. How do they get energy? They don't photosynthesize in the conventional way. This leads to an open scholarly debate. Historians and botanists still argue whether certain mythological plants, or those described in ancient esoteric texts, like those that were said to drink moonlight or absorb starlight, hint at a forgotten form of plant metabolism or merely symbolic language. Could these Vatican blooms derive sustenance from an unknown energy source, perhaps a specific mineral in the soil, or the very unique electromagnetic fields present within the ancient Vatican walls? It's a truly mind-bending thought, a challenge to everything you learned in biology class about photosynthesis. A quirky tidbit to consider: some rare, real-world cave-dwelling organisms, particularly certain fungi or insects, have evolved without Any reliance on light, developing unique metabolic pathways to survive in perpetual darkness. While our garden's flora isn't in a cave, its insistence on absolute nocturnal existence mimics such extreme adaptations. Could this be a terrestrial version of an extremophile, a plant that found its evolutionary niche in the most unlikely and forbidden of environments? A secret pocket of darkness in the heart of a bustling city? It's almost as if the garden itself is playing hide and seek, and it's winning. The scents are another powerful element of their strange life. As the blooms unfurl, the air fills with an intoxicating, complex fragrance. It's not the heavy sweetness of jasmine or the crispness
of lavender.
It's something deeper, richer, with notes of ancient earth, metallic tang, and a strange, almost musical vibration. Some describe it as the scent of forgotten memories, others as the perfume of impossible dreams. It changes subtly throughout, the night intensifying as the garden reaches its peak bloom, then fading as the first hint of dawn approaches, leaving only a ghost of its presence by sunrise. This ephemeral aroma is often the first, and sometimes only, clue that passers-by, the unsuspecting night staff, ever encounter, leaving them bewildered and slightly off-kilter. And the sounds. If you listen very closely beyond the gentle hum of your fan, you might perceive them. A faint, almost imperceptible rustling that isn't wind. It's the sound of thousands of tiny petals unfolding, of microscopic tendrils reaching, of sap flowing through unseen veins. Some say there's a delicate, almost chime-like sound, like tiny crystal bells ringing in a breeze that isn't there, a botanical chorus that accompanies the garden's awakening. It's the kind of sound that makes the hairs on the back of your neck tingle, not from fear, but from the sheer, quiet wonder of it all. It's truly a symphony of the subtle. So, as the night progresses and the Vatican sleeps, our secret garden performs its silent, impossible ballet. It's a place where time seems to slow, where the normal rules of growth and light simply don't apply. It's a vibrant, living paradox nestled within the very stone, blooming defiantly against all understanding, a testament to the fact that even in the most ordered and documented places, profound mysteries can not only survive but thrive in the comforting, concealing embrace of the dark. You can almost feel the gentle pulse of its hidden life, growing silently in the deepest part of the night. You're still drifting there amidst the silent, unfolding marvel of the Vatican's nocturnal garden, feeling the gentle pulse of its impossible life. Having observed its strange blooms and their defiant photophobia, your mind now turns to a fundamental question. What powers this extraordinary growth? The answer, as Brother Matteo's journal hinted and centuries of subtle observation suggest, lies with the moon. This garden isn't just active at night, it's intrinsically, inextricably linked to the lunar rhythms, drawing sustenance and vitality from the very celestial body that governs the tides and casts silver light upon the sleeping world. Imagine standing in that secluded courtyard on a night of the full moon. The air around you feels different, almost charged, vibrating with a subtle energy. The luminescence of the lunar blossoms isn't just present, it deepens, becoming richer, more vibrant. The soft, internal glow intensifies, casting faint, shimmering shadows on the ancient stone walls, almost as if the garden itself is breathing light. The whispering tendrils that Brother Matteo documented seem to lengthen more perceptibly, their growth almost visible to the naked eye if you stare long enough. It's as though the moon, high above, acts as a colossal celestial battery, pouring its ethereal energy directly into the hidden heart of the Vatican. But this isn't just about the full moon. you realize that the garden cycles mirror every phase. During the new moon, when the sky is swallowed by absolute darkness and no lunar light graces the earth, the garden recedes. The luminescence is fainter, the growth slower, almost a quiet dormancy. The intoxicating scents are muted, the subtle chimes barely audible. It's a period of deep rest, a conserving of energy, waiting for the moon to begin its waxing journey once more. Then as the crescent moon reappears and slowly grows, the garden begins to stir with renewed vigor, its blooms gradually intensifying their glow, their scents, and their silent symphony of growth. It's like a living barometer of the heavens, calibrated not to sunlight or rain, but solely to the moon's steady, unwavering dance across the night sky. This profound reliance on lunar cycles points to an incredibly specialized form of botany, far removed from conventional agriculture. We often talk about planting by the moon, a quirky tidbit rooted in ancient agricultural practices. Farmers for millennia, including those in ancient Rome and medieval Europe, often believed that planting and harvesting according to the moon's phases could influence crop yield and vitality. While modern science largely dismisses these claims as superstition, focusing instead on soil, water, and sunlight, our secret garden defies such easy categorization. Its very existence suggests that for some flora, lunar influence isn't a mystical belief. It's a fundamental, non-negotiable requirement for survival. It's like finding a plant that literally runs on moonlight like a small, botanical solar panel, but for the night. You'd certainly need a very specific kind of plant food, wouldn't you? Perhaps little moon-shaped biscuits. This concept throws an intriguing curveball into the historical narrative of the Vatican. Papal gardens, the known ones, were meticulously designed to showcase the power and wealth of the papacy, often incorporating classical elements and exotic plants. But their growth was always dependent on the sun. This nocturnal garden, however, operated on an entirely different calendar, one dictated by the celestial body that is arguably most associated with mystery and the unseen. This secret garden wasn't just hidden, it was fundamentally alien to the sun-drenched, ordered world of Vatican horticulture. An open, scholarly debate. Historians still argue whether ancient astrological or lunar charts, often dismissed as mere superstition, contained empirically observed patterns of nature that were simply interpreted through a spiritual or mystical lens. Could the meticulous lunar observations found in some ancient texts, or hinted at in Brother Matteo's journal, be more than just folklore? Could they be precise instructions for cultivating this specific kind of flora, a forgotten branch of botany that understood the profound direct energy transfer from celestial bodies to earthly life? It challenges the modern scientific paradigm, suggesting a deeper, more intertwined relationship between cosmos and biology than we currently acknowledge. The caretaker, Brother Matteo, meticulously documented these lunar influences. His journal entries weren't just vague observations. They contained detailed charts correlating the moon's phase with the garden's vigor, its luminescence, and the intensity of its fragrance. He noted how the lunar blossoms seemed to reach their peak size and brilliance only during the most luminous nights, almost as if they were literally swelling with absorbed moonlight. He even experimented as much as he dared, trying to block lunar light from certain patches, only to find the plants shriveled and failed, proving their absolute dependency. It was like trying to unplug a plant from its power source. It just wouldn't work. This deep connection to the moon adds another layer of security to the garden's already formidable defenses. Not only does it recoil from sunlight, but its very existence is tied to something outside human control, the celestial mechanics of the Earth's natural satellite. You can't simply bring a grow lamp into this garden and expect it to thrive. It demands the genuine, unfiltered essence of moonlight. It's a plant that refuses to be tamed, a living secret that asserts its own terms of existence. And as you imagine that soft, ethereal glow intensifying under the full moon, filling the hidden courtyard with an impossible, silent light, you can almost feel the gentle pull of the light lunar tide on your own consciousness, drawing you deeper into its timeless rhythm. You're now descending, not literally, but in your imagination, deeper into the concealed world of the Vatican's nocturnal garden. The ethereal glow of its blooms, the subtle whispers of its growth, and its profound dance with the lunar cycles, all point to one crucial, foundational element: its lifeblood. This garden, you realize, thrives not just on moonlight, but on a source of nourishment unlike any other, a secret spring of ethereal waters hidden within the Vatican's ancient bedrock. Imagine a forgotten subterranean passage, perhaps one of those ancient Roman tunnels we spoke of, leading into a hidden grotto. The air here is cool, perpetually damp, and carries a faint, unique scent. Not the usual mustiness of underground spaces, but something cleaner, almost sterile, with a subtle hint of ozone and fresh earth. As you venture further, guided by the sound of a soft, rhythmic drip, you begin to perceive a faint luminescence ahead. It's not a reflection, but a light emanating from the very source of life itself. This is the secret spring. Its water isn't clear, sparkling like a mountain stream. Instead, it possesses a soft, internal glow, a gentle phosphorescence that bathes the rough-hewn stone walls of the grotto in an otherworldly light. The water shimmers with faint silver and green hues, as if liquid starlight has been trapped and made tangible. When it collects in small, natural basins, it pulses with a quiet energy, seemingly alive. If you were to dip your fingers in, you'd find it unusually cool, almost icy, with a strange silken viscosity and perhaps a taste that is both mineral-rich and oddly devoid of flavor, like distilled essence of pure night. It's the kind of water you'd expect to find in a fantasy novel, not beneath the Vatican. The origin of this spring is as shrouded in mystery as the garden it sustains. One theory, hinted at in Brother Matteo's later, more speculative journal entries, suggests a unique geological phenomenon. The Vatican Hill itself is part of Rome's complex geological history, with ancient volcanic activity and underlying mineral deposits. Mainstream historical fact: Rome's water supply has historically relied on extensive aqueduct systems, drawing water from various springs and rivers, some of which passed through complex geological formations. Could this secret spring tap into an aquifer so deep, so untouched, that its water has absorbed rare, luminescent minerals or chemical compounds from the Earth's core, giving it its unique properties? It's a fascinating thought, suggesting that the Vatican sits atop a silent, geological marvel. Another theory, one that resonates with the echoes of Roman horticulture, posits a more deliberate origin. Could this be a forgotten offshoot of an ancient Roman aqueduct system, perhaps one designed not just for public utility, but for a specific esoteric purpose? The Romans were masters of water engineering, creating intricate systems of conduits, cisterns, and hidden channels. What if a branch of their network, perhaps one serving a particular patrician villa on the Vatican Hill that specialized in strange gardens, was designed to filter water through specific mineral veins or volcanic strata, deliberately imbuing it with these properties? It's like an ancient Roman Brita filter, but instead of removing impurities, it's adding a magical glow. Imagine the plumbing diagrams for that. Brother Matteo's journal contained meticulously detailed diagrams of the garden's subtle irrigation system, a network of barely visible channels that seemed to draw the glowing water directly from a concealed fissure in the grotto. He noted how the plants seemed to prefer this water over any other, wilting if ordinary water was used for too long. He observed that the water itself seemed to react to the moon, its luminescence intensifying on full moon nights, just as the plants did. This implies a symbiotic relationship, where the water isn't just hydrating the plants, it's providing the very essence of their nocturnal life, acting as a direct conduit for the lunar energy. This ethereal water is the garden's metabolic engine. It contains the precise, unique combination of elements necessary for the plants to perform their inverse photosynthesis, to absorb moonlight and to glow. It's not just water, it's a living elixir custom designed by nature or perhaps by forgotten ancient hands to fuel this very specific botanical anomaly. It's like the garden has its own highly specialized artisanal energy drink that only it can process. And of course, no one is selling bottles of Vatican glow water on Amazon because the source is utterly inaccessible. A quirky tidbit that weaves into this. Ancient cultures across the Mediterranean often revered sacred springs or healing wells, attributing mystical or curative properties to their waters. These springs were sometimes associated with deities or believed to be gateways to other realms. While the Vatican spring is not publicly known, its hidden nature and unique properties certainly place it in a similar category. It's almost as if the garden is feeding from a forgotten font of primordial power, a leftover from a time when the world was perhaps a little more enchanted. It gives a new meaning to organic gardening, doesn't it? An open scholarly debate. Historians and geologists still argue whether some ancient accounts of miraculous or glowing springs were purely metaphorical, or if they were early, albeit imprecise, observations of natural phenomena like bioluminescent, bacteria in water or water rich in specific phosphorescent minerals. Could the Vatican's secret spring be a genuinely unique geological occurrence that merely happened to be exploited, accidentally or intentionally, for its specific properties that enabled this garden? Or was it, as some more esoteric texts hint, a deliberately engineered feature, perhaps even by early Christians who sought to integrate existing pagan sacred sites into their new spiritual landscape, harnessing their latent energies? The debate highlights the thin line between scientific explanation and profound mystery in the interpretation of ancient sites. So, as you continue to drift, you visualize this hidden chamber, bathed in the soft internal glow of the miraculous spring. This is the heart of the garden, the silent, pulsating source of its impossible life. It's a testament to the fact that even within the most rigorously controlled and publicly scrutinized environments, nature, in its most extraordinary forms, can find a way to thrive, sustained by secrets as profound as the earth itself, flowing unseen beneath our feet. You're still there, drifting in the quiet, ethereal glow of the Vatican's hidden spring, feeling the unique pulse of its waters as they sustain the impossible garden. But how did the secrets of this spring, this peculiar flora, and their nocturnal demands truly come to be understood? It wasn't through conventional science or public research. No, it was through forbidden texts of green magic, ancient manuscripts hinting at knowledge deemed too powerful, too strange, or too dangerous for common understanding, now slowly unfurling their own secrets. Imagine for a moment not the public-facing Vatican library filled with theological tomes and historical documents, but its deepest, most secure archives. Picture the Archivio Segreto Vaticano, the Vatican's secret archives, though it's now officially called the Vatican Apostolic Archive, a mainstream historical fact. The old name still whispers of its mystique. This is a place where centuries of papal correspondence, obscure historical records, and indeed texts deemed too sensitive or volatile for public consumption are meticulously guarded. It's a labyrinth of shelves, some stretching miles, filled with the collective memory of an institution spanning millennia. It was within these very depths, perhaps in a hidden compartment known only to a select few, that some of these peculiar botanical texts would have been, and perhaps still are, safeguarded. Brother Matteo, our meticulous gardener from Section 3, hinted at these texts in his journal. His later entries referenced obscure Latin phrases, symbols he'd meticulously copied, and theories about lunar energy that clearly weren't derived from standard Renaissance botanical treatises. He wasn't inventing these ideas, he was clearly drawing from a pre-existing body of knowledge, a lineage of understanding that spoke of nature in terms fundamentally different from mainstream thought. This wasn't merely gardening, it was an applied form of what one might call green magic, a profound, almost mystical understanding of plant life, its hidden energies, and its intricate connection to celestial forces and elemental powers. These texts wouldn't be explicit spell books, not in the way you might imagine. Instead, they would be written in dense, often allegorical language, blending botanical observations with philosophical musings, astrological charts, and perhaps even alchemical symbols. They might describe specific soil preparations involving rare minerals or watering techniques that emphasized lunar phases over practical irrigation. They could contain diagrams of intricate planting patterns designed to channel unseen energies, or recipes for botanical elixirs derived from these very nocturnal plants. Think of them as ancient, highly specialized user manuals for a very niche, very powerful, and potentially very dangerous botanical technology. It's like finding the owner's manual for a fantastical machine, written in code and hidden under a stack of very old tax returns. One particular type of text that might apply here are herbal grimoires or magical botanical treatises, often found in medieval or early modern European traditions. A quirky tidbit: while many medieval herbalists focused on medicinal properties, a fringe element dabbled in what was known as sympathetic magic, believing plants held power based on their appearance, location, or lunar cycle. For instance, a plant that only bloomed at night might be believed to have properties related to dreams, secrets, or the unseen world. These texts weren't widely circulated, they were often privately copied, annotated, and passed down through small, secretive lineages, sometimes within monastic orders, sometimes within noble families with esoteric interests. It's not just about what to plant, but how to plant it, to harness its secret power. It's the difference between a recipe for apple pie and a recipe for an apple pie that grants wishes. The ingredients might look similar, but the instructions are vastly different. The Vatican's interest in suppressing or controlling these texts would be multifaceted. Theologically, any practice that smacked of magic or paganism, even if tied to nature, would be considered dangerous and heretical. But beyond that, there was the inherent power. Knowledge of how to cultivate such a garden, one that defies natural law, could be seen as too potent for humanity, a potential source of great power or chaos if misused. The Church often positioned itself as the sole interpreter of divine mysteries, an independent, secret garden born of green magic knowledge would challenge that authority. It's like a secret society accidentally discovering a perpetual energy source under its headquarters. The first instinct isn't to announce it to the world, but to immediately figure out how to lock it down. Historians still argue whether certain esoteric Renaissance texts, particularly those blending natural philosophy with hermetic or alchemical traditions, truly contained forgotten scientific principles or were primarily intellectual exercises. Was Paracelsus, for example, a brilliant proto-scientist or a mystic dabbling in the occult, or perhaps both? The debate directly impacts how we interpret texts that seem to describe impossible natural phenomena. If our forbidden texts of green magic were real, they would represent a lost, highly specialized branch of empirical observation, perhaps misunderstood by later ages, yet yielding astonishing, if unorthodox, results. So, as you visualize these hushed chambers, these ancient, guarded texts, you can almost feel the intellectual weight of centuries of hidden knowledge. Brother Matteo didn't just stumble upon a strange garden. He, or his predecessors, inherited a fragmentary understanding of its origins, a coded botanical blueprint found in the pages of these forbidden texts. These weren't books to be read lightly, but to be studied meticulously, to be understood, in the quiet hours of the night, perhaps even by the very moonlight that nourished the garden itself. They represent the ultimate secret within a secret, the intellectual key to the botanical marvel blooming defiantly under the Vatican's watchful, but often ignorant eye. You're still there, your mind's eye fixed on the quiet hum of the Vatican's secret archives, pondering the ancient texts that hinted at a forgotten green magic. But knowledge, however powerful, means little without those who act upon it, who safeguard it. And so our journey now shifts to the guardians of the nocturnal Eden, the silent lineage of individuals who, across centuries, dedicated themselves to protecting the garden and its profound secret within the Vatican walls. Imagine the sheer weight of such a responsibility. This wasn't a formal title or a recognized office within the Vatican hierarchy. No, these guardians were often unassuming individuals chosen not for their rank, but for their discretion, their meticulous nature, and perhaps a quiet understanding of the world's hidden symmetries. They were the successors of Brother Matteo, the quiet botanist, whose journal we encountered earlier. Their names might never appear in official papal registers, yet their influence ensured the garden's survival against time, curiosity, and the ever-present threat of accidental discovery. Their methods were as varied as the centuries they spanned. In earlier times, during the medieval period, a guardian might have been a highly trusted monastic gardener, sworn to secrecy, whose daily chores of tending the known garden subtly concealed his nocturnal duties. He would have known which plants were ordinary and which were to be ignored by day, only to be meticulously nurtured by night. He might have cultivated specific ordinary plants around the garden's hidden entrance, forming a natural, unassuming camouflage. It's like having a secret hobby, but your hobby is tending to a super rare, glowing nocturnal plant. And if anyone finds out, it could be a major international incident. The stress levels must have been phenomenal. As the Vatican evolved, so too did the guardians. During the Renaissance, a guardian might have been an architect, subtly altering plans, adding non-existent walls on blueprints, or ensuring that new constructions inadvertently, or perhaps very intentionally, sealed off the garden's access points. You can picture him, a master builder, sketching elaborate facades by day, while by night, with a single lantern, he's charting the garden's growth, ensuring its continued seclusion. He'd have had to be a master of misdirection, a true architectural magician. Later, perhaps during the Age of Enlightenment or the modern era, the guardians might have been discreet archivists, carefully cataloguing documents in such a way that references to the garden were buried under layers of bureaucratic obscurity. They'd classify any mention of strange plants or nocturnal phenomena under the most innocuous, utterly boring headings, guaranteeing that only someone looking for something else entirely would ever stumble upon them. Imagine the sheer bureaucratic genius of filing luminous botanical anomaly under routine courtyard maintenance records, 1723 to 1725. It's an exercise in supreme organizational stealth. One mainstream historical fact to consider: the Vatican has always relied heavily on a complex, often overlapping, network of personnel, from the highest cardinals to the most humble groundskeepers and administrative staff. Many of these roles have existed for centuries, fostering a deep sense of tradition and continuity. This long-standing structure provided the perfect environment for a secret lineage of guardians to pass down their unique duties, knowledge, and sense of purpose, often from mentor to apprentice, generation after generation, entirely under the radar of official scrutiny. The motivations of these guardians are as fascinating as the garden itself. For some, it might have been a sacred duty, a holy trust passed down to them, convinced that the garden was a divine marvel to be protected. For others, perhaps, it was intellectual curiosity, a profound fascination with a natural phenomenon that defied explanation, driving them to observe and preserve it. And for a few, maybe it was simply a quiet, almost whimsical obsession, a personal connection to something exquisitely beautiful and profoundly secret. It's like being entrusted with the care of a mythical creature, and your only instruction is don't let anyone know it exists and make sure it gets enough moonlight. A quirky tidbit that comes to mind: in various esoteric traditions throughout history, there has been the concept of secret societies or initiates dedicated to preserving forbidden knowledge or magical practices. While the Vatican is not a secret society, the nature of this guardianship, a hidden generational transmission of unique knowledge about a powerful, clandestine phenomenon, mirrors such traditions. It suggests a small, dedicated group, perhaps just a few individuals at any given time, who knew the truth and felt bound to protect it, becoming the garden's silent, human roots. Imagine their Christmas parties. So what utterly bizarre, top-secret project are you working on this year? An open, scholarly debate. Historians still argue whether the apparent disappearance of certain specialized forms of ancient knowledge, particularly in areas like alchemy or esoteric botany, was due to a genuine loss of understanding or a deliberate, systematic suppression and concealment by powerful institutions like the Church. Our garden's guardians, operating in the heart of one of the world's most powerful institutions, would represent compelling evidence for the latter, suggesting that invaluable and strange knowledge wasn't lost, but simply hidden away for reasons of control, preservation, or profound misunderstanding by the wider world. Their very existence poses a challenge to our understanding of historical knowledge transfer. So, as you reflect on this hidden chain of caretakers, you recognize their quiet heroism. They were not wielding swords or delivering thunderous sermons. Instead, they were quietly observing, diligently documenting, meticulously concealing. They ensured that the delicate, glowing blooms of the nocturnal garden continued their silent ballet, fueled by moonlight and ancient waters, all while the world outside remained blissfully unaware. They were the shadow gardeners of a hidden Eden, maintaining a sacred secret that only the moon and now you truly understand. You're still hovering, feeling the quiet determination of the Vatican's hidden guardians, those silent figures who have ensured the nocturnal garden's survival through centuries. But now, as your mind drifts deeper into its mysteries, you begin to consider the garden's profound impact on the human spirit. This isn't merely a botanical anomaly, it's a living secret that has, in subtle and often unintended ways, inspired art, poetry, and esoteric philosophies within the very walls that conceal it. Imagine the influence it must have had on those few chosen individuals who were privy to its existence. Brother Matteo, for instance, in his journal, didn't just record scientific observations. His later entries became increasingly lyrical, describing the blooms with a sense of wonder that bordered on the spiritual. He spoke of the lunar blossoms, not just as plants but as heavenly constellations brought to earth, and the whispering tendrils as silent guides through the veil of night. His meticulous botanical notes gradually morphed into a form of botanical poetry, an attempt to capture the garden's ineffable beauty and its challenge to conventional understanding. This hidden inspiration didn't just stay within private journals. You can almost feel its subtle resonance echoing through the Vatican's vast collections of art and literature. Think of the cryptic symbolism often woven into Renaissance frescoes or Baroque sculptures. While much of it is widely interpreted through religious iconography, could some of the more unusual or obscure botanical motifs, perhaps a flower depicted with an impossible glow, or a vine twisting in an unnatural luminescent way, be subtle, unconscious homages to the secret garden? It's like an artist, knowing a secret, can't help but weave tiny, almost imperceptible clues into their masterpieces. Consider the role of the Vatican as a historical patron of the arts and sciences. Mainstream historical fact: many popes during the Renaissance and Baroque periods were avid collectors and patrons, commissioning vast works of art, architecture, and even scientific inquiry, often pushing the boundaries of contemporary knowledge. While they publicly championed grand sunlit expressions of divine order, it's not a stretch to imagine that the existence of a profound nocturnal mystery might have seeped into the creative consciousness of those privileged enough to serve them. Perhaps a papal librarian, privy to the garden's existence, subtly suggested unusual botanical details to a painter, or a court poet was subtly encouraged to incorporate metaphors of hidden light and nocturnal growth into their odes. This influence extends beyond overt artistic representation into more abstract realms, specifically esoteric philosophies. You can picture hushed discussions among scholarly cardinals, perhaps those who were also guardians of the garden, debating its nature not just botanically, but philosophically and theologically. Does it represent the hidden order of creation? Is it a glimpse into a primordial, pre-lapsarian state of nature? Or perhaps, as some might have argued, a testament to the sheer power of divine mystery, defying human comprehension? These profound questions would have surely shaped their intellectual pursuits, subtly influencing their writings and their interpretations of sacred texts. It's like being part of a very exclusive, very old book club, where the main topic is, what if plants are secretly sentient and glow? A quirky tidbit that touches on this. During the Renaissance, the study of Neoplatonism and Hermeticism, which explored hidden connections between the natural world, celestial bodies, and divine truths, experienced a revival. These philosophies often emphasized the idea of signatures in nature, that plants, minerals, and stars held hidden meanings and powers legible only to the initiated. Our glowing, lunar-dependent garden would have been the ultimate living signature, a tangible manifestation of these esoteric beliefs, proving that the cosmos truly did influence earthly life in profound, unseen ways. It's the ultimate example of as above, so below, if below is a hidden Vatican courtyard. An open scholarly debate. Historians and art historians still argue whether the presence of certain recurring, unconventional symbols or motifs in Vatican-commissioned art and literature were merely artistic flourishes, or if they encoded deeper, perhaps esoteric, knowledge known only to a select few initiates. The existence of our nocturnal garden provides a compelling, if speculative, new lens through which to view these artistic and philosophical choices. Could some of the more ambiguous, dreamlike, or otherworldly depictions of nature in Renaissance be less about allegory and more about secret, direct observation of a botanical marvel? It suggests that the beauty and wonder of the garden might have been expressed not through direct depiction, but through a deeply symbolic language that only the initiated could truly understand. So, the secret garden was more than just a biological anomaly hidden behind stone walls. It was a silent muse, a profound mystery that ignited the imaginations of those few who knew of its existence. It inspired whispered poems, prompted esoteric philosophical debates, and perhaps subtly found its way into the very fabric of the Vatican's artistic and intellectual heritage. Its luminescence wasn't just physical, it was intellectual, casting a quiet glow on the creative and contemplative lives of those who guarded its secret, ensuring that its beauty, however concealed, would continue to inspire for centuries. You can almost feel the weight of those unspoken inspirations shimmering in the deep quiet of the night. You're still held in the gentle sway of the Vatican's hidden history, contemplating how the secret garden has quietly inspired art and philosophy. But now, as you drift further, your focus narrows to the very real challenges and the perpetual, silent threats to its existence. This ancient, living secret, despite its profound concealment, has faced numerous dangers over the centuries, from the shifting whims of popes to the relentless march of time and technology. Imagine the sheer fragility of such a phenomenon. A garden that thrives only in darkness, reliant on specific lunar cycles and a hidden glowing spring, is inherently vulnerable. It's not a grand basilica built of solid stone, designed to last millennia. It's a collection of delicate, living organisms with highly specific, non-negotiable requirements. Just one misstep, one curious official, one modern renovation project could spell its doom. It's like trying to hide a glowing, extremely rare orchid from a very enthusiastic, slightly clumsy gardener. The stakes are perpetually high. One of the most persistent threats has been architectural development. As we discussed, popes throughout history constantly reshaped the Vatican, adding new wings, tearing down old structures, and altering courtyards. Each new foundation laid, each new wall erected posed a risk. A careless architect or an unaware construction crew could easily have unearthed the garden, or, worse, blocked its vital access to the specific atmospheric conditions it needed, or cut off its precious water supply. You can almost hear the frantic, hushed conversations of a guardian trying to subtly redirect a massive building project away from a specific, unassuming patch of wall. Oh, Your Holiness, perhaps that new laundry facility would look much better. Over there by the old stables, far more aesthetically pleasing. Then there's the threat of changing papal attitudes. While some popes might have been fascinated or reverent towards the garden, others might have viewed it as a nuisance, a relic of superstition, or even a potential source of scandal. A pope committed to radical modernization or purification of the Church could have easily ordered its destruction, seeing it as an unholy anomaly. Imagine the theological debates. Is preserving this green magic an act of stewardship or a tacit endorsement of unchristian practices? This theological tightrope walk would have been a constant internal threat to its continued existence. It's like your eccentric aunt's houseplant, which is a rare, glowing, carnivorous vine, and the new, minimalist neighbors keep insisting you get rid of it. Another, perhaps more insidious, threat comes from curiosity and overzealous study. Brother Matteo's journal showed a meticulous but also a growing fascination. What if a subsequent guardian became too ambitious, trying to exploit the garden's properties or attempting to bring its unique blooms into the light for closer study? As we know, direct sunlight is instantly fatal to these plants. The temptation to understand, to analyze, to possess such a unique natural phenomenon would be immense and dangerously alluring. It's the classic scientific urge to poke the mysterious thing until it stops being mysterious, or worse, stops existing. Mainstream historical fact. The Vatican has faced numerous sieges, periods of political upheaval, and even occupations throughout its history, from the sack of Rome in 1527 by imperial troops to the Napoleonic Wars. These external threats, chaotic and destructive, would have placed the garden in immense peril. Imagine soldiers rampaging through the Vatican, smashing ancient artifacts, utterly unaware of the delicate, hidden life beneath their boots. In such times of turmoil, the nuanced, careful guardianship would have been nearly impossible, leaving the garden vulnerable to accidental discovery or destruction. It's a wonder it survived at all, a quiet miracle amidst human chaos. A quirky tidbit that adds to this. The Vatican city-state, despite its spiritual mission, has always been a functioning, living city, complete with its own infrastructure, utility, lines, and constant maintenance. Picture the challenges of burying new electrical conduits or sewage pipes without disturbing an ancient, hidden botanical anomaly that can't tolerate light and has a special water source. Every burst pipe, every necessary repair could have been an existential threat, forcing guardians to intervene subtly, diverting works or making up elaborate excuses for why certain areas couldn't be excavated. Oh no, you can't dig there.
That's where the Pope keeps his very sensitive collection of antique thimbles.
An open scholarly debate. Historians still argue whether certain gaps in the Vatican's archival record or sudden shifts in architectural plans for specific areas were due to mundane reasons like fire or clerical error, or were intentional, acts of suppression related to sensitive information or physical anomalies. The repeated, almost ritualistic efforts to conceal the garden suggest that some records were indeed deliberately obscured or perhaps removed, not just for theological
reasons, but to protect the garden itself from those who might seek to exploit or destroy it.
The very lack of clear documentation about the garden serves as its own testament to the enduring threats it has faced. So, as you linger in the quiet hum of the night, you feel the tension that has always surrounded this hidden Eden. It's a tension born of its extreme fragility and the ever-present dangers of human activity. The garden's survival isn't just a testament to its unique biology, or even to the dedication of its guardians. It's a testament to a delicate balance, a constant dance between concealment and the encroaching world, a quiet triumph of enduring life in the face of centuries of hidden threats. You're still there, attuned to the hidden perils that have constantly threatened the Vatican's secret garden, feeling the quiet tension that has allowed it to endure. Now, as your mind drifts deeper, you begin to ponder the modern era and its implications. In a world defined by technology, satellite imaging, and unprecedented scrutiny, how does a living secret, reliant on absolute darkness and isolation, survive in the very heart of one of the globe's most documented locations? Imagine the sheer audacity of it. We live in a time when almost every square inch of the Earth's surface can be photographed from space. Google Maps, high-resolution satellite, imagery, drones. These tools offer an omnipresent eye, seemingly making true secrets impossible. Yet, the garden persists. This forces a fascinating question. Is its continued concealment a testament to the Vatican's enduring, perhaps technologically advanced, methods of secrecy, or to the garden's own incredibly sophisticated camouflage? Think about the routine maintenance that occurs in a functioning city-state like the Vatican. New pipes, electrical lines, structural inspections, all require detailed surveys and often ground-penetrating radar. How could a hidden botanical marvel escape detection? Perhaps the areas where it thrives are simply marked as no-go zones on official schematics, or designated as having unstable subsoil, or historical archaeological sensitivity to deter deeper investigation. It's like having a very specific, oddly shaped "Do Not Disturb" sign permanently plastered on a part of your backyard. The sheer bureaucracy of it all could be its greatest shield, but beyond the mundane, consider the possibility of active modern concealment. Could the current guardians, the unseen successors to Brother Matteo's lineage, be employing contemporary methods to protect their charge? Perhaps the Vatican has invested in cutting-edge cloaking technology, a sort of localized, advanced, visual distortion field that simply makes the area appear as ordinary stone and mortar to any remote sensing equipment. It sounds like something out of a spy movie, but then again, a glowing nocturnal garden in the Vatican sounds like something out of a fantasy novel. At some point, you just have to lean into the weirdness. Mainstream historical fact: the Vatican, city-state, despite its ancient roots, is a thoroughly modern entity with its own advanced infrastructure, including power grids, communication networks, and security systems. This modernization, paradoxically, could provide new tools for secrecy. Advanced surveillance equipment, strategically placed to detect unusual movements around the garden's known location, could alert guardians to potential breaches. Or perhaps, the Vatican's extensive cybersecurity protects digital records that might hint at its existence, ensuring no curious hacker stumbles upon a digitized version of Brother Matteo's journal. The challenge of the modern era isn't just about detection, it's about the erosion of mystery itself. In an age of instant information and pervasive connectivity, the very idea of an enduring secret becomes almost anachronistic. People crave explanations, data, definitive answers. The garden, with its silent, impossible existence, defies this modern craving. It forces you to confront the limits of scientific understanding and the enduring power of the unknown. It's like trying to explain to a TikTok influencer why something shouldn't be immediately recorded, analyzed, and posted online for millions of views. The very concept is foreign, a quirky tidbit that reflects this modern paradox. While the Vatican operates its own powerful radio station, Vatican Radio, established in 1931 by Guglielmo Marconi himself, and maintains a significant online presence, the specific internal architectural and land records of its oldest, most sensitive areas are often still meticulously maintained in physical archives, sometimes even with intentionally vague descriptions for security. This blend of cutting-edge communication and old-world physical secrecy offers a unique shield. It's the ultimate mixed-media approach to keeping a secret, an open scholarly debate. Historians and security experts still argue whether the apparent lack of leaked information or visual evidence regarding certain historical and architectural anomalies within highly sensitive, closed institutions, like the Vatican or certain intelligence agencies, is truly due to complete absence, or to incredibly sophisticated long-term operational security and counterintelligence measures. The enduring secrecy of our nocturnal garden, despite all modern technological advancements, would serve as compelling evidence for the latter, suggesting that the Vatican's methods of guarding its deepest secrets are far more advanced and subtle than the public could ever imagine. It posits a level of sustained, systematic concealment that borders on the truly impressive. So, as you envision the silent, glowing blooms unfurling under the watchful eyes of satellites and surveillance drones, you realize the modern era hasn't extinguished the garden. Instead, it has merely forced its guardians, and perhaps the garden itself, to adapt, to become even more subtly ingenious in their concealment. It's a testament to the fact that even in the brightest, most scrutinized corners of our wired world, profound mysteries can not only survive but continue to thrive, patiently awaiting the quiet embrace of the night. The garden is, in its own way, a silent, living counter-narrative to the relentless march of technological transparency. You're still there, suspended in the gentle current of your thoughts, sensing the delicate, almost imperceptible ballet between the Vatican's utterly secret garden and the relentless, often unfeeling gaze of the modern, hyper-connected world. Having just considered the immense challenges posed by technological scrutiny, by the ubiquitous satellites and the ever-present drones that seem to render true secrets impossible, your mind now naturally, perhaps instinctively, turns to an even deeper, more profound aspect of its enduring power. This isn't merely a hidden patch of Earth that somehow avoids detection. It's intrinsically nestled within the Vatican, a sprawling, complex nexus of spiritual authority, a place imbued with millennia of unwavering faith, ceaseless prayer, and the profound, often inexpressible yearnings of countless human souls. Could the sheer, concentrated, sacred energy of this truly unique and hallowed location play an active, vital role in sustaining the garden's impossible, defying logic life? This is where the mystery deepens beyond mere botany or historical intrigue, venturing into the realm where belief and the very fabric of reality subtly intertwine. Imagine, for a moment, truly feeling the spiritual density of the Vatican. It is for millions upon millions across the globe, not just a historical site or a seat of government, but the very epicenter of their faith, a focal point where prayers ascend from every ancient stone, where saints are venerated with fervent devotion, and where divine mysteries are ceaselessly contemplated in whispered litanies and grand ceremonies. The very air within those ancient walls seems to hum with a quiet, almost palpable reverence, a collective spiritual energy that has been painstakingly built up, layer upon layer, over more than 2 millennia. It's a place where countless acts of devotion, of hope, of sorrow, and of profound belief have been poured out, creating an energetic resonance that is almost tangible. Could this profound, continuous outpouring of human belief, this sacred resonance, this spiritual charge, somehow contribute to the garden's utterly unusual vitality, perhaps even directly fueling its ethereal, nocturnal glow? It's a thought that challenges conventional physics and embraces a more holistic, perhaps ancient, understanding of existence. Consider, too, the ancient concept of genius loci, quite literally, the spirit of a place. Many cultures throughout human history, including the very Romans from whom the Vatican inherits so much of its foundational history and even its architectural DNA, believed that certain locations possessed inherent, often mystical, energies. For them, a place wasn't just a physical space defined by coordinates. It was a living entity, alive with subtle forces, imbued with its own unique essence. A mainstream historical fact that underscores this belief. Ancient Roman urban planning and construction often incorporated sacred sites and beliefs about the spirit of the place, intentionally building temples or shrines on locations already deemed powerful or auspicious by earlier, even pre-Roman traditions. This was not arbitrary. It was a deliberate choice to harness existing energetic or spiritual currents. It's entirely plausible, given this ancient understanding, that the specific, secluded location of our secret garden, nestled deep against the oldest, most foundational walls of the Vatican, might have been a site of particular energetic significance, a nexus of unseen power long before the first Christian basilica was even conceived on that hallowed ground. Perhaps the garden found its footing precisely because of this existing energetic wellspring. This isn't about magic in the conventional theatrical sense of waving wands or uttering incantations, not necessarily. It's about a deeper concept of resonance and symbiotic existence. What if the concentrated spiritual energy of the Vatican, the constant, powerful flow of devotion and ritual, the accumulated intent of generations, creates a subtle, localized energetic field that directly interacts with the garden's unique, impossible biology? Perhaps this spiritual field provides an additional unseen layer of nourishment, seamlessly augmenting the lunar energy it absorbs and the ethereal spring water it consumes. It's like living next to a perpetual power plant. But instead of churning out electricity, it's churning out pure, distilled spiritual good vibes, and the garden is uniquely equipped to absorb them. The Vatican, in this light, becomes not just a city of stone, but a living, breathing spiritual entity, subtly nourishing its hidden botanical miracle. A quirky tidbit that beautifully intertwines with this idea. Throughout the medieval Christian or mystical tradition, there was a profound and recurring concept known as the hortus conclusus, literally the enclosed garden. This wasn't a physical garden, but a powerful symbol primarily of purity, paradise, and was often explicitly associated with the Virgin Mary. These were symbolic gardens of spiritual perfection, untouched and sacred, our secret garden, hidden, away, enclosed and blooming in a way that utterly defies the mundane, perfectly embodies this mystical ideal. It's almost as if it's a living manifestation of a profound theological concept, a physical embodiment of a spiritual metaphor. Imagine discovering that the abstract ideas in your most cherished holy texts are actually being physically performed in silent, ethereal glory by a patch of glowing moss and impossible blooms in your own very secret, very sacred backyard. It gives a whole new, astonishing meaning to taking metaphors literally. This leads us to an intriguing, persistent, open, scholarly debate. Historians and religious scholars still actively argue whether the perceived spiritual power or sacredness of specific sites is purely a psychological construct of human belief, a magnificent projection of collective consciousness, or if concentrated human intention and ritual over long periods can, in some subtle, unmeasurable yet empirically real way, genuinely alter the energetic or even physical properties of a specific geographical location. The very existence of a garden that thrives on non-conventional energy sources and defies established biological norms, nestled within such a profoundly and continuously spiritually charged space, would certainly provide compelling, if unprovable, evidence for the latter perspective. It prompts a fascinating, indeed a profound, discussion on the often overlooked intersection of human faith, subtle physics, and the truly unexplained elements of our natural world. It invites us to consider that perhaps, sometimes, belief isn't just a mental state, but a force. So as you linger in this mental space, allowing yourself to envision the silent prayers ascending, the ancient rituals being performed with unwavering devotion, and the collective spiritual weight of millennia settling upon every stone and shadow of the Vatican, you begin to grasp its profound and perhaps symbiotic interaction with the secret garden. It's not just a physical location of concealment, it is a crucible of spiritual energy, a nexus of divine intent. The garden in turn becomes a living testament to the deep, unseen forces at play within genuinely sacred spaces, thriving not just on what we can measure with our instruments, but on the immeasurable, often overlooked, power of belief itself. It's a quiet, glowing symbol of the enduring mysteries that continue to blossom where faith and nature, in their most enigmatic forms, intertwine. It is silent, it is powerful, and it remains in its profound essence, utterly beyond conventional human understanding, a luminous heart beating quietly in the very soul of the eternal city. You're still there, bathed in the spiritual resonance of the Vatican, pondering how faith itself might sustain the secret garden. Now, as our journey nears its end, you consider a final, perhaps most profound aspect of this hidden marvel, its enduring legacy and its future. What does the continued existence of such an impossible, defiant secret mean for our understanding of nature, history, and the very boundaries of the known world? Imagine the quiet revolution the garden represents. In an age where every mystery is swiftly dissected by science, every secret exposed by technology, the Vatican's nocturnal garden stands as a living paradox. It's a powerful, silent counter-narrative to our assumption that everything can be explained, quantified, and controlled. Its very existence forces us to confront the humbling possibility that there are still profound, fundamental aspects of the natural world, and indeed of our own history, that lie utterly beyond our current comprehension. This garden is a constant, gentle reminder that the universe holds more wonders than our textbooks currently describe. Its legacy isn't just botanical, it's philosophical. The garden challenges the strict divisions we often create between science and spirituality, between the tangible and the ethereal. If plants can truly thrive on moonlight and the resonance of sacred space, drawing life from
sources we barely understand, then what else are we missing?
what other hidden connections exist between the cosmos, the earth, and the deepest human intentions? It quietly suggests that the ancient mystics and philosophers, with their talks of genius loci and celestial influence, might have been perceiving truths that modern science, with its focus on the purely measurable, has inadvertently overlooked. Consider the potential for future discovery. Mainstream historical fact. The Vatican's extensive archives, including the former secret archives, still contain vast quantities of uncatalogued or partially catalogued documents, with new discoveries regularly made by scholars. It's not inconceivable that further historical texts, perhaps even more detailed botanical diagrams or cryptic scientific notes, could still lie hidden within those miles of shelving, waiting to shed more light on the garden's origins or the true extent of its unusual properties. What if other Brother Matteos existed in different times and places, observing similar anomalies and leaving their own coded journals? The garden hints at a vast, undiscovered field of dark botany, challenging future generations to look beyond the sunlit world for answers. The enduring legacy also lies in its very secrecy. The garden's continued concealment, enforced by centuries of papal directives and the dedication of its guardians, speaks volumes about the human impulse to protect what is deemed too powerful, too sacred, or too destabilizing for general knowledge. It prompts a fascinating question. How many other such secrets, whether natural phenomena, ancient technologies, or profound spiritual truths, are still being quietly guarded within the hidden corners of our world, known only to a select few? The garden becomes a symbol of all hidden knowledge, a testament to the fact that some truths are simply too profound for public consumption or too fragile to withstand the harsh glare of modern scrutiny. A quirky tidbit that beautifully illustrates this legacy. There's an old, informal tradition among some Vatican staff of leaving small, unassuming tokens: a polished stone, a pressed, ordinary flower, a simple prayer card, in obscure, seldom visited nooks and crannies of the Vatican. It's a quiet act of remembrance, a way of acknowledging the countless hidden histories and forgotten souls within the ancient walls. Our garden, existing in its profound hiddenness, perfectly aligns with this unspoken tradition, becoming the ultimate living token of the Vatican's vast, untold story, blooming quietly for those who truly know how to look. An open, scholarly debate. Historians and futurists still argue whether the accelerating pace of technological transparency will eventually erode all forms of secret knowledge, or if humanity will always find new, ingenious ways to conceal profound truths, adapting to evolving surveillance methods. The Vatican's nocturnal garden provides a compelling living example of resilience. Its continued existence in the digital age suggests that some secrets are not merely technological puzzles to be solved, but are protected by layers of ancient wisdom, biological uniqueness, and perhaps even the sacred energy of their location, making them truly unquantifiable and perpetually elusive. It posits that there will always be a realm of the unknown, a frontier not of space, but of hidden reality. So, as your journey through the whispers and mysteries of the Vatican's secret, Garden concludes, you are left with a powerful, lingering sense of wonder. Its enduring legacy is not just the continued bloom of impossible flowers, but the silent challenge it poses to our understanding of the world. It stands as a profound testament to the fact that even in the most familiar and documented places, life can defy all expectations, thriving on unseen forces, guarded by dedicated souls, and blooming eternally in the comforting, concealing embrace of the night. It reminds us that the greatest mysteries often lie not in the distant stars, but in the hidden depths of our own ancient earth, patiently awaiting discovery by those quiet enough to listen and humble enough to simply wonder. Would you like to explore another hidden historical mystery, or perhaps delve into the real-world science behind some of the phenomena we discussed?